Hi, it's Reggie. Welcome back to Moonlight Moments and to the final episode of this 5-part series. Over the past few episodes, we've been sitting with self love in different ways, choosing ourselves, expressing honestly, accepting what's true, and allowing rest without guilt. Not as something to complete, but as something to practice, moment by moment. Today isn't about wrapping everything up. It's about waking up after something has shifted inside you. Still yourself, still learning, but standing in a different place than before. A place where self love no longer feels distant or intimidating, but present, possible, worth facing. This episode is about orientation, about realizing you're safe enough to stay with yourself, about knowing there's more ahead and feeling ready for it. If you've been listening and wondering what comes after you begin loving yourself, let this be a reminder. The beginning doesn't end here. It continues quietly in the days that follow. So take a breath and let's begin. Morning arrived quietly, not with urgency or announcement, but with light easing into the house like it had all the time in the world. Pale gold slipped through the windows, settling on the floors, the table, the edges of the chairs. The house felt awake in a different way now. Less like it was holding something back, more like it was letting things breathe. Ray woke before the others. She lay still for a moment, listening. No brush tugged at her chest. No checklist formed in her mind. Just the low hum of the house coming into its day. She sat up easily, pulled on a sweater, and went downstairs without second-guessing herself. The kitchen was already warming. A kettle whispered on the stove. Plates sat stacked on the counter, not arranged perfectly, just ready. Ray poured herself a cup of coffee and sat at the table before anyone else arrived. She didn't scan the room. She didn't wait to be needed. She simply sat, hands wrapped around the mug, present. Noah came in next, barefoot, hair still loose from sleep. She paused by the window, watching the steam rise into the morning air. "Look at that," she said, smiling, like she hadn't filtered the thought at all. She laughed softly at herself, then joined Ray at the table, talking with her hands, energy light and uncontained. There was no self-consciousness in it, just joy moving where it wanted to go. Elias followed, quieter but different now. He took his seat and listened without shrinking, letting the pauses stretch without trying to fix them. When he spoke, it wasn't careful or softened. "I slept better than I expected," he said simply. No one commented on it. No one needed to. Lena hovered briefly in the doorway, old instincts flickering, counting chairs, scanning plates, checking what might still need to be done. Then she let the moment pass. She sat down. She reached for the food while it was still warm. She didn't apologize for the silence she held or the space she took. Her shoulders stayed lowered, her breath steady. Jonah had been there longer than anyone realized, leaning against the counter, listening, letting the morning unfold without steering it. He finally sat, reaching for the jam, then pausing as if a thought surprised him. "I don't know what we're doing later," he said, almost amused. "But for once, I'm kind of excited not to know." He glanced around the table, not checking for approval, not filling the space, just offering the thought as it was. No one rushed to answer, and somehow, that felt like the answer. Outside, the day stretched forward, unfinished and open. Someone mentioned later, casually without a plan attached. Someone poured more tea. Someone laughed at the fact that no one seemed to know what time it was. The house didn't interrupt them. It didn't guide or instruct. It simply held the morning steady, like it trusted them now. Nothing felt complete. The questions were still there. The work still waiting. Self-love hadn't been mastered or solved. But the way they faced it had shifted. They weren't bracing anymore. They were seated at a table, grounded in their bodies, unafraid of the day ahead. Whatever came next, whatever learning, discomfort, or tenderness waited, they would meet it awake. From the doorway, it might have looked ordinary. 5 people eating breakfast, sunlight on wood, quiet conversation. A morning like any other. But something essential had changed. They were no longer avoiding self-love. They were facing it, together and one day at a time. And as the house filled with the small sounds of living, the day opened wide before them. Not as an ending, but as a beginning. There's a moment in every journey that doesn't feel dramatic, but changes everything. It's not the breakthrough, it's not the realization, it's the quiet knowing that you're no longer running from yourself. That's where this episode lives. Self-love is often described as a destination, something you arrive at after doing enough work, learning enough lessons, or fixing enough parts of yourself. But what this series has been gently pointing towards is something far less intimidating and far more real. Self-love isn't an arrival. It's a direction. It's the moment you stop turning away. When Ray chose herself, it wasn't because she had everything figured out. It was because she was willing to begin. When Noah expressed herself, it wasn't because she felt fearless. It was because she allowed joy to exist without filtering it. When Elias stood in his truth, it wasn't about certainty, but about honesty. When Lena rested, it wasn't because everything was done. It was because she gave herself permission anyway. None of these moments completed self-love. They oriented it. This final episode isn't asking you to walk away with answers. It's asking you to notice how it feels to be grounded enough to keep going, to wake up inside your life and feel present instead of braced, to trust that learning yourself doesn't require urgency or perfection, only willingness. The work of self-love doesn't happen all at once. It happens in ordinary moments, at tables, in conversations, in pauses you no longer rush to fill, in days that don't need to be planned to be meaningful. And maybe the most important shift of all is this: realizing that you are safe enough to keep learning, safe enough to be unfinished, safe enough to not know what's next, safe enough to stay with yourself anyway. That's not the end of the journey. That's the beginning of living it. If this series has felt quieter than dramatic, there's a reason for that. Most real change doesn't announce itself. For many of us, self-love doesn't arrive as confidence or clarity. It arrives as a subtle shift, a softening in the body, a pause before reacting, a moment where you realize you're not bracing the way you used to. And then life continues. You still wake up to responsibilities. You still have people who need you. You still don't have everything figured out. That can feel confusing, especially if you expected self-love to feel bigger or more obvious. But this is often what it actually looks like. It looks like noticing you're less harsh with yourself than you were before. It looks like catching the moment you would have rushed past your own needs and choosing not to. It looks like allowing yourself to be where you are without turning it into a problem. For a lot of people, the hardest part of self-love isn't starting. It's trusting that the beginning is enough. Trusting that you don't need a total life overhaul to be doing it right. Trusting that small shifts count, even when they don't feel impressive. Especially for women, caretakers, and those who carry a lot for others, there's often a fear that if you show down, everything will fall apart. That if you stop striving, you lose momentum. That if you don't push yourself, you'll go backward. But what this episode is quietly offering is another possibility. That you can keep living your life, the same one, with a different relationship to yourself inside it. That you don't need to retreat from the world to practice self-love. That you don't need to wait for a perfect moment to begin. That you don't need to feel ready to continue. Sometimes, the most honest sign that something has shifted is simply this. You feel safe enough to keep going. Just like Jonah. Not rushed, not pressured, not fixed. Just present. And that's often where real self-love takes root. Not in dramatic change, but in the steady decision to meet yourself again tomorrow with a little more care than yesterday. As you move forward from this series, it's important to remember that self-love doesn't ask you to become someone new. It asks you to stay present when it would be easier to disconnect, to stay kind when it would be easier to judge yourself, to stay open when uncertainty shows up. If you're wondering how to carry this with you, here are a few gentle ways to continue, not as rules, but as reminders. 1. Let beginnings be enough. You don't need to feel transformed to be on the right path. Noticing a shift, however small, is already movement. Trust that starting matters, even when you can't see where it leads yet. 2. Return instead of restart. There will be days when you forget, days when you're harder on yourself again. That isn't failure. It's part of the practice. Self-love isn't about never drifting. It's about knowing how to come back without shame. 3. Practice in ordinary moments. Self-love lives in small choices. Sitting down when you're tired, speaking honestly when it feels safe enough, letting yourself rest without explaining why. These moments count more than grand gestures. 4. Stay curious, not critical. When something feels uncomfortable, try curiosity instead of judgment. Ask, what is this teaching me? Rather than, what's wrong with me? Growth softens when curiosity leads. 5. Trust that learning takes time. There is no finish line here, no version of you that suddenly gets it all right. Self-love unfolds as you live, slowly, imperfectly, and honestly. If all you carry forward from this episode is the willingness to keep meeting yourself where you are, that is more than enough. You're not behind, you're not late. You're already on your way. If you can take a moment to settle where you are, let your body be supported by the chair, the floor, the bed beneath you. You don't need to sit perfectly. You don't need to do this a certain way. Just allow yourself to arrive. Take a slow breath in through your nose and let it out gently. Notice the weight of your body. Notice where you're holding tension. Maybe in your shoulders, your jaw, your hands. You don't have to change anything. Just notice. Take another breath. Imagine yourself standing at the start of a new day. Nothing dramatic has happened. Your life looks familiar. The world is still asking things of you. But something inside you feels different. You're not rushing away from yourself. You're not bracing for what's coming. You're simply here. As you breathe, let these words settle quietly inside you. I am safe to keep learning. I don't need to have it all figured out. I can meet myself where I am today. If your mind drifts, that's okay. Gently bring your attention back to your breath, back to the feeling of being held by the moment you're in. There is no finish line you're trying to reach, no version of you that you're trying to become. There's only this moment, this breath, this willingness to stay. Take one more slow breath in, and as you exhale, imagine yourself stepping into the day ahead, not with pressure, not with expectation, but with openness. Ready to learn, ready to return, ready to continue. When you're ready, gently come back. As we come to the end of this episode, I want to gently remind you of something important. Nothing here was meant to finish you. This series wasn't about reaching a destination or becoming a better version of yourself overnight. It was about turning toward yourself, maybe for the first time, maybe in a new way, and realizing that you're safe enough to keep learning. That's the heart of this journey. Self-love doesn't mean you always know what to do next. It means you're willing to stay present when you don't. It means you're choosing to meet yourself with care, not just in moments of clarity, but in ordinary mornings, quiet pauses, and days that are still unfolding. Here's the key takeaway to carry with you. Self-love isn't something you complete. It's something you return to, again and again. If you don't feel certain, that's okay. If you don't feel finished, that's okay too. You're allowed to be in the middle of learning who you are and how to love yourself at the same time. As you move forward from here, trust that the work continues gently. Not because you're lacking, but because you're living. Thank you for being here with me tonight. Follow Moonlight in Moments wherever you listen, and share it with someone who might need a little light today. Until next time, and as always, love yourself better than yesterday.
I thought I'd feel different by now, like something would finally click, like I'd wake up certain and steady, like I cross some invisible bridge. But I'm still here with the questions, still learning how to begin, still finding my footing slowly in the life I'm already in. Maybe love isn't lightning, maybe it's not that loud, maybe it's choosing to stay when I don't have it figured out. I'm still becoming, and that's okay. I don't need answers to walk this way. I don't need to be finished to be enough. I'm learning myself in real time, love. If this is the start, I'm not afraid. I'm still becoming, and that's okay. Used to think I was late, used to think I missed my chance, but I see it clearer now. I was always learning how to stand. Every step I didn't take, every moment I tried to run, led me right back to this place where I'm choosing to stay with myself. I don't need perfection, I don't need a sign, I just need the courage to meet myself one more time. I'm still becoming, and that's okay. I don't need answers to walk this way. I don't need to be finished to be enough. I'm learning myself in real time, love. If this is the start, I'm not afraid. I'm still becoming, and that's okay. Some days I'll forget what I learned, some days I'll fall back again, but I know where to return now. I know how to begin. Not from fear, not from pressure, not from who I'm supposed to be, but from this quiet promise to keep choosing me. it slowly, day by day. I don't need a map, I don't